Next is our production budget. So here is where we're going to estimate how many units we anticipate we will need to produce to not only meet our budgeted sales figure in units for the month and the quarter, but also to have the certain amount of desired ending inventory left over. So this is what the production budget will help us to determine. So at Royal Company, management wants their ending inventory each month to equal 20% of the following month's budgeted unit sales. So they want a 20% buffer there. So I went ahead and for each month and for the whole quarter, I plugged in the budgeted unit sales here from our sales budget. So this is where those numbers are coming from, and this is actually the numbers they gave us, what their budgeted unit sales are for each month and for the quarter. Now, they also give us the March 31st ending inventory. So on March 31st, 4,000 units were on hand. So that's the amount that we started April with. So for this production budget, you start with the budgeted sales in units, and then you add the amount of units that you want left over. So that'll tell you how many units you need. Then if you know how many units you need, you subtract out the units that you started with for the month to know how many units you need to make. So here, let's first look at April. So we know that we want to end April with, in terms of ending inventory, we want to end April with 20% of the next month's budgeted unit sales. So we want 20% of whatever May's unit sales are budgeted for. So 20% of 50,000. We're going to do 20% times 50,000. So we want 10,000 units left over at the end of April. After selling everything that we sold, we want at least a minimum of 10,000 units left over as a buffer. So that means we need 30,000 units for April. But we started April with some units. We started April with 4,000 units. So we wouldn't have to make 30,000 units. We'd only have to make 26,000 units. So here we're just going to plug in 4,000 for that beginning inventory. So if we need 30,000 units for April to cover sales and the ending inventory that we desire, then we need to subtract out, once we know we need 30,000 units, but we already have 4,000 of those 30,000. So we only need to make 26,000 units in April. So we're going to do the same thing for May. We budget that we will sell 50,000 units in May. So how many units do we want to end May with? Well, we want to end each month with 20% of the next month's budgeted unit sales as ending inventory. So if next month in June we anticipate we will sell 30,000 units, we want 20% of that left over as ending inventory in May. So we will take 20% times that 30,000 budgeted sales units for June. So we want to end May with 6,000 units. So if we know we estimate we were going to sell 50,000 units in May, we want 6,000 units left over, we need a total of 56,000 units for May. But we aren't going to need to make 56,000 units if we started with some units in inventory. Remember, the beginning inventory in May would be your ending inventory in April. So whatever I end this month with is what I start next month with. So the beginning inventory in May was April's ending inventory. So if I know I need 56,000 units in May, but I know I started the month with 10,000, I would only need to make 46,000 units to meet that 56,000 unit need there. We'll do the same thing for June. We know we want to sell 30,000 units in June, but I want to be left with 20% of the next month's budgeted unit sales. Well, we would know how many units we want to sell in July. So with that first video, where we started with the sales budget, we saw that July's budgeted unit sales was 25,000 units. So 20% of July's budgeted unit sales, which is 25,000 units, is 5,000 units. So not only are we estimating to sell 30,000 units in June, but we want 5,000 left over in inventory. So we need a total of 35,000 units for June. But We won't have to make all of that because we would have started June with some inventory. We started June with whatever we were left over with from May. And May's ending inventory we estimate will be 6,000. So if we need 35,000 units in June, but we started the month with 6,000 units, or we estimate we'll start the month with 6,000 units, that means we would only need to make 29,000 units for the month. Now we need to figure out the figures for the quarter overall. Now, for the whole quarter, we estimate that we will sell 100,000 units. Now, how do I find the ending inventory for the quarter? Well, simply, the inventory I end the quarter with is simply the inventory I end June with, because the end of June is the end of the quarter. So that is simply the 5,000. So we would need for the entire quarter 105,000 units. Now, what's the beginning inventory for the quarter? Well, what's the beginning of the quarter? The beginning of the quarter was April, so the beginning of April is the same as the beginning of the quarter. So the beginning inventory for the quarter is simply the beginning inventory for April there. So the total amount of units we would have to produce for the entire quarter is $101,000. We can also find that by adding the required production together for all the months on their own. So that is how to set up a production budget, and next we will look at how to prepare a direct materials budget.